Okay, guys, I'm really hoping that third time is the charm because my Instagram app just actually quit on me. It just shut off, and it's never done that before. So I don't know what's going on. But again, 2020 kind of feels like the year that things happen like this. So why not? All right, one more time. Sorry, Steve. Push request again. If it doesn't work this time, I'm gonna steal Jordan's phone and log into Instagram on his. Oh my God. There he is. All right. Waiting. Please work. It says waiting for Steve. Connecting. Ah.
Sophia.
Hi. Isn't it crazy that it was easier for us to do a podcast on Zoom than to get on an Instagram live together?
It makes me feel really old to be able to do any of this stuff.
Well, luckily now you at least have confirmation that it wasn't you and that my internet or something isn't working. I don't know what's going on. So everyone who's viewing today, I'm sure many of you know Steve. I know that many of you listened to our interview on Work in Progress because I got incredible messages about it. But for any of you who are new, who don't know Steve, he is an incredibly prolific political strategist. He has actually been one of the stars of the Republican Party and their political strategy for a very, very long time. And he is running an incredible organization with some other cohorts called the Lincoln Project, which is very explicitly explaining to all of us as citizens, constituents, United States residents, and really global citizens, why Trump is unfit for office and incredibly dangerous, not only to American democracy, but democracy around the globe. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Steve. We need your leadership and your expertise before the RNC starts and we all just want to crawl in a hole and die. It might just be me, but that's really how I'm feeling. So I really, really appreciate you being here. How are you?
I'm good, Sophia. How are you?
I'm really well. You know, I'm as well as I can be, actually. It's a very strange and tough time in the country. It's weird to watch these really bizarre double standards where it comes to how we value human life. In America, it's surreal to me to watch a father who pulled over to break up a fight and then simply wanted to get back in his car to calm his children down because it was scary once the police arrived. Strange to watch him get shot in the back 7 times. And then a young white supremacist domestic terrorist be given water while wearing an assault rifle and eventually murdering 2 people. He was given water by the cops. So it's a tough time. And I think it's really important that in individual human stories like that, Jacob Blake's story, the passes that some folks who look like me and who look like you get for bad behavior, I think through lenses such as those, it's really imperative that we talk about what it means to be Americans, to be a constituency, how we are going to show up for each other, and what threats to our systems and our rule of law are enabling events like these to happen. And it's the threats to the systems that I know you in particular have such expertise around. And I'm very curious. Well, I suppose one, if you can repeat something you told me on the podcast, which is why, being one of the stars of the Republican Party, you decided to so clearly come out against Trump's leadership, because we know many have not. I think that would be helpful background. And then I'd be curious to know what you think about how we can better defend our country and our countrymen in times such as these when we seem to be sliding ever closer to fascist rule. Not to be too depressing for anybody here.
Well, so you're talking, Sophia, about the word radical, and what I want to talk about is radical and the meaning of the word in the context of what it means to be American. So there was a moment in time, it was a hinge of history. It represents in all of human civilization a before and after moment where the greatest idea ever put to paper by the mind of man, right, that launched the American experiment, the most radical idea to that moment of time in all of human history. And here's the idea. The idea was that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it marked a before and after moment in human civilization. Now, there was a flaw. The idea was perfect, but it didn't apply to everybody. And
Right.
the story of the country has been the struggle to close the gap and to include everybody under the umbrella of that perfect radical idea, that we're all equal, and that the purpose of life is to pursue happiness, and the purpose of a government of the people, by the people, for the people, is to organize a system built on a rule of law where we're all equal. So King in 1963 marched on Washington under the American flag, and he talked about coming to collect a promissory note. A promise had been made about human dignity, but had not been extended to our black brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And so this is the story of America. America is a radical concept and a radical idea built on the idea of human dignity. I want to talk about extremism for a second. I want to talk about that 17-year-old young man, and I think it's very important to think deeply about. This young man was poisoned and radicalized into being a killer by Trumpism. He sat in the front row. And let's look at the events this week.
And can I just say for viewers who may not know what you're referring to, you know, when Steve says that this young man, Kyle Rittenhouse, sat in the front row, he's referring to quite literally sitting in the front row of a Trump rally, being photographed in the front row at one of those rallies in which, you know, 45 is talking about deeply inappropriate and violence inciting theory. So,
sure.
Continue, sorry.
So Donald Trump, when we saw the Boogaloo Boys, men who are heavily armed, who have a fetish for wearing Hawaiian shirts, who stormed the Michigan State Capitol, are wishing for, prepared for, and are thirsting for the violence of a second civil war. It's what they believe in. And Donald Trump gave them encouragement, gave them succor. When he spoke to the white nationalists after Charlottesville, said, good people on both sides. What he's communicating to these people is that they're legitimate, that they're mainstream, that their mission is worthy. And so what we've seen at this convention is a level of deception and lying and dishonesty that's simply breathtaking. It's un-American in that it's authoritarian. And understand this, democratic societies are built on the hard granite of truth. Totalitarian autocratic societies are built on a garbage heap of lies. And so this convention has been a garbage heap of lies.
Yeah.
And something that no one may care about anywhere in this country. It may not influence a single voter, but it matters.
Yeah.
Use of the White House, as Donald Trump has used it, is illegal.
Yes, it's a violation of the Hatch Act.
Against the law with criminal penalties. The White House is a symbol of state. And here's what I mean by this. The President of the United States has 4 jobs. President is, by definition, the head of a political party. President is the head of government. He's the head of state of the government of the United States. So he's not the peer of the Prime Minister of Great Britain. He's the peer of the Queen of England. And he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The symbols of state, of the country, belong to all of us.
Yes.
We're not a blood and soil country. We're not a country built on ethnicity. We're a country built on an idea. And so his co-option of these symbols of state for his partisan purposes isn't just illegal and deeply inappropriate, it's despicable and completely contrary to the American tradition. And what it is, when you have a president openly flaunting the law, the only basis to flaunt it is I'm in charge and I can do whatever I want.
Right.
And this is a line that's dangerous and unhealthy in a democratic society. But let's step back and let's talk about ISIS for a second. What have we been told over these recent years about how ISIS recruited? Who did they target? Who straps on a suicide bomb in the Gaza Strip to kill people? How do they target that person? How do they find them? Well, what you're going to find most often is a young man from a dysfunctional family who's broken in this age of social media, who's isolated and disconnected. And so when you're lonely and disconnected, what do? You find and you find affinity groups. And who did he find himself affiliated with through Facebook? Literally maybe the most pernicious institution in this country at this point. He found his way to the radicalized Trump right. This young man, we'll find this out about him, lonely, dispossessed, radicalized. He took an AR-15 and he drove from Indiana to Wisconsin to become a killer. And let's look at what might have incentivized this young man at 17, broken and empty, that he would surrender his agency to commit this evil act. So what did we see on Monday night? We saw a couple from St. Louis whose only qualification, only relevancy to a Republican convention was mishandling firearms, but pointing them at black people who stood outside their gaudy St. Louis mansion. That's why they were there. And what did they say? They said that the black people were coming to burn down the suburbs. That's what they said. What did Matt Gaetz say? Matt Gaetz said that we were in some type of conflict, some type of war, talked about the threat. So is it any wonder? And then you look at how Tucker Carlson explicates him.
Unbelievable.
Saying that, well, the liberal Democrats won't defend, so it's appropriate for this young man to show up with his AR-15 and start shooting. And so all over the cities and streets, we see these right-wing militias carrying long rifles, semi-automatic weapons, ready to do violence in the name of Trumpism. So there's a direct line. There's a cause and effect. He was radicalized by the president of the United States, by his rhetoric, by his allies. That's what's at stake in this election. Whole country on the line in 68 days.
Yes. And to your point, the false equivalency and the sort of danger of the double standards, you know, the fact that Tucker Carlson is defending a domestic terrorist, yet called Trayvon Martin, who was just a kid, another 17-year-old kid, walking home with nothing more than a pack of Skittles in his pocket, but who happened to be black, called him a suspicious thug. We have to start getting frank about these things. And it does make it hard when, you know, to your point, when the RNC is quite literally a lie parade. When Nikki Haley has the audacity to stand on stage and claim that America is not a racist country, when she changed her name from Nimrata to Nikki to stop being discriminated against, when Kayleigh McEnany will actually stand on stage and say that the president is defending people's pre-existing conditions, when currently, right now, today, the Trump administration is literally suing to revoke coverage of pre-existing healthcare, coverage of pre-existing conditions and for terminology of healthcare for all American citizens. This is an insane world that we're living in. And so I hope that those of us who are not afraid to stand up and tell the truth, whether that's me or you guys at home, it doesn't matter if you have a platform the size of mine or the size of Steve's. It matters that if you have the ear of the 5 people you eat dinner with every night, that you talk to them about the truth. It matters that the FBI has classified the greatest threat to American national security to be white supremacist domestic terrorism. These things matter. And unfortunately, we don't have leadership on these issues. We do have leadership that lies to us and is insistent on dividing the country to remain in power, which, to your point, Steve, is something that you see in dictatorships and authoritarian regimes. I mean, look at Putin, who literally poisons his enemies. I can't stress enough that the option to fall farther into fascism or the option to right the ship of America as an idea, as a country, that's what's on the line, you know. And I do want to clarify for anyone watching, when you and I talk, when the folks who are coming on tonight to excuse me, I'm very excited, obviously, to continue speaking, are talking about why this matters to us, I have to think of one of my favorite things that James Baldwin has ever said. I literally have the quote as the background of my computer, and it reads, "I love America more than any other country in the world, and exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually." We are simply demanding that America live up to the equitable action of the ideals on which it was founded. That's the goal here. And building equity doesn't mean I lose something. It doesn't mean you lose something. It means we build a bigger table. It means we build a bigger economy. If we created equity across racial lines, gender lines, our GDP would go through the roof. We would have a full economic recovery. It doesn't mean less for you. It means more for all. And that's kind of the point of why we're here. That's the point of why we fight. That's the point of the good work that you're doing at the Lincoln Project, is to clearly let people know what a violation of the Constitution and America as this idea, this entire administration is. So I really want to thank you. I really appreciate your willingness to be honest and frank about the danger that we're in. And I'm really grateful for the work that you do and for the friendship that we've forged in these strange times. Thanks for everything, Steve.
You bet, Sophia. This is the most important election since 1864, when the American people, 25 million of them in the north of the United States, chose between George McClellan, who would have surrendered and conceded to the Confederacy, and Abraham Lincoln, who understood that the Union needed to be preserved and slavery needed to be extinguished. The American idea, the American ideal, is on the ballot. Donald Trump's autocratic personality. He has a liberal disposition. Our values are under assault. And when you consider the pathological lying, the dishonesty, the desecration of the office of President of the United States, and finally this simple fact, 180,000 of us are dead. 180,000 Americans are dead that did not have to be because of incompetence and the ineptitude. We saw Mike Pence lying about the miracle cure. There's just no such thing as true.
Yeah.
We have no chance of moving beyond this era and recovering as a country with Donald Trump in office. And I can't overstate the stakes of this election, the danger of radicalization that you see him fomenting in this country, the cold civil war that he stoked that's now starting to turn hot on the periphery. Tonight, what we're going to see is the most dishonest, despicable, amoral person who's ever held the office of President of the United States, who's desecrated that office, who has embarrassed the nation and disgraced the country, lied to the American people, a man whose incompetence knows no description, whose ineptitude knows no bounds, and the suffering and death that he's caused, the blood that he has on his hands is very real. And we're going to lose the country if he's not voted out of office 68 days from now.
It's a chilling picture that you paint, but a true one. And I appreciate your willingness to be frank and to let people know how important this is, especially having worked in as many administrations as you have. You know, you've got more elections under your belt than I do. And I would imagine you and I both have more elections under our belt than some of the folks who are spending their time with us tonight. So I really appreciate it. And to your point about America being a radical idea, I want to tell everyone that we, as a cohort, are working on something. Please visit radicalnationalchallenge.org and join us, because we'd like to live up to that idea.
Thanks, Sophia.
Thanks, Steve. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right, y'all. We have another friend coming in to join us. Oh yeah, maybe. Will it read won't it read backwards? See, we gotta print. We need to pull the like Megan Rapinoe thing and print the sign backwards. I don't know how she did that actually. Okay. I mean, yeah, we could do that. How do I? Okay, let's see. Noah. Nope, that's not the button. Hold on, guys. I don't know how to work my phone. Honestly, after all the Instagram lives I've done, you think that I would know how to do this. Okay, see, look at this. This is what I'm saying. Okay, turn on commenting. No, this. Ah, never mind. I figured it out. I got it. Okay, let's see. Add. Okay. Noah, here we go. Hello!
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
You know, I'm good. I so love our friend Steve. I feel like a little chilled to the core, obviously, about what he's saying, and it's the truth. It's the truth that we all talk about in our little activist chat group every day. But it's, you know, it's nerve-wracking to hear, certainly from someone who comes from that arena of very rarefied air in terms of politics. But I think that his generational perspective is incredibly important for us. Very similarly to the way that I think that your perspective is important to us, you know, like, I don't know, you're like a Gen Zer. How are you guys feeling about this election? How are you feeling about political engagement? What makes you want to be here? Tell me all the things.
Well, I want to say I was listening to your conversation with Steve, and what was crazy to me was, so he obviously works with the Lincoln Project, which America feels so polarized right now, right? Left versus right, Republican versus Democrat, right? And a lot of kids my age feel like that's the issue. But to hear someone like Steve, who's clearly a Republican, how he desecrated the Oval Office, and it was just really eye-opening to hear him say that. And I went, oh, so maybe this isn't such like a polarity issue. This is, you know, but it does.
Well,
hear me?
Kinda. You cut out for a second. I heard it does, and then you looked like you were saying something very serious, but I couldn't hear any of the words. Kind of. You're going in and out a little bit.
How's this? Is this better?
I don't know. What's going on there?
What if I hold it?
Maybe.
Maybe. Can you hear me?
Yes, actually, I can now.
Okay, so I'll hold it.
Okay.
But hearing it definitely amplified this idea that, you know, we're on the verge of a super important election right now, where you know, if we don't get this guy out, we'll be taking a turn towards fascism. I feel like, you know, and it's really it's scary. But I think from my perspective, what's so cool is that more kids my age are mobilizing and passionate to get involved. You know, there was a huge push for voting, and there still is. I mean, that's, you know, that's really, to me, the messaging behind getting kids to vote feels like just getting kids my age to feel more engaged in politics, in their country, in their cities, locally, in their states. You know, because the truth is, when you start to vote up the ballot, not just in the primaries, but it is obviously imperative that we all vote in the primaries. But when you start to vote locally, you can really see, as you know, systemic change. And that's a powerful position to be in. And I just think kids my age, I didn't even know that that was a thing until so recently, Sophia. But to understand that, no, like I can change something as simple as, you know, the time that school starts at, you know, if I really wanted to.
Yes.
You know, it's insane. And so I think that's why I'm excited about this, because though we are polarized and it's horrifying what's happening in the office, we're awake and waking up.
But I love hearing that. And one of the things that I always want to say to younger people who are coming to the table for the first time, who are getting engaged in, you know, civic participation for the first time, is if your vote wasn't worth so much, they wouldn't try so hard to convince you that it didn't matter. It's because you're powerful that they don't want you to feel that you are. It's because this administration senses that it might lose its power, that it's getting ever more dangerous and trying to pit us against each other instead of allowing us to see their failures. You know, real leaders will admit when they screw up something and say, like, yeah, I didn't nail that and I can do better. It's actually one of the things that is, you know, one of my favorite things about Joe Biden, who I know a lot of young people weren't that excited about. You know, I voted for somebody else in the primaries, but what I can say as a person who's old enough to have campaigned for President Obama and then Vice President Biden and got to work on initiatives in their White House was that I got to spend a lot of time with that guy, and I know he's a decent person. And for me, when I look at the collective of America, it's like, okay, maybe I don't get my perfect outcome, but what creates the most just outcome for our country? Where can I meet folks in the middle? That's actually what America is. It's a great collaboration. And if there are people who say, that's our guy, that's who we feel most comfortable with, I'm 100% on board. I'm ready to go. I can say from personal experience, he's a super decent person. I can say that I've had some of the most inspiring conversations of my political life with Senator Kamala Harris. You know, I know that they're going to do great things. I know that when Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, who is an incredible climate activist and a Black woman who grew up in a very revolutionary, civil rights-focused household, says she believes in Biden's climate plan, I'm like, okay, let's go. And so, to your point, my hope is that young people will both understand that we have a duty to each other, whether our outcomes personally, individually feel perfect or not. And so we've got to show up in the general. And you nailed it when you talk about we've got to get involved in our local politics too, because that's where we can create the biggest change. That's where we can elect leaders who then hold whoever's in the White House accountable. That's where we can create massive, incredible environmental preservation, better city policy, and so on and so forth. So
absolutely. I also think, you know, like, with your quote about James Baldwin and his favorite thing about America is the fact that he will be able to criticize it in perpetuity. I'm paraphrasing, of course. You know, always criticizing and becoming better and evolving. And I think that is Biden, you know, is that campaign the end all be all for America? Absolutely not. You know, I think is it though an extremely necessary step to then move towards the righting of the ship? Yeah, please, for God's sake. Like, I think it's extremely important, and I think he right now is our you know only hope at this moment in time. And I also think that the system is extremely antiquated. You know, like the fact that we can't vote by mail in every single state. You know, the fact that
but that the president and everyone who works for him vote by mail.
It makes no sense. It makes but that's my thing, is that, and it's, people like to talk about Gen Z like we're lazy. You know, like, oh, Gen Z, they're lazy and they don't care. It's like, no, man, the system doesn't work. That's why, because it needs to be better. Maybe it works, but it's working at such a tiny bandwidth.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're using dial-up still. And like, for Christ's sake, we have 5G. We got LTE, you know what I'm saying? So why haven't we upgraded?
Yes. So it feels to me like Gen Zers in particular, like your generation was essentially born with a smartphone in hand, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've been on the internet and social media for as long as you can remember. And to me, what I see as being so inspiring is actually your propensity for innovation. I feel that too, you know, like I'm still a millennial. I love tech. I love new ideas. I love efficiency. I love getting rid of redundancy and waste and all these things. And to your point, I think when you guys are like, what's the deal with voting? It's because you see how stupid and old the procedure is. It's like other countries, you're just automatically registered to vote. Other countries, you get a fine if you don't vote. Other countries, you can vote by mail. It's not that we can't, it's not that it's dangerous. It's that there are people who know they maintain power by keeping the system being archaic. So they want to slow it down. And I think that so many people who are your age are just going, yo, everything we do works better than this. So why can't this work as well as everything else we use every day, right?
I can order food in 30 seconds from across town by pressing 4 buttons. If I just want to reorder, it's 3. You know what I mean? How is it that this system for voting is way more important than me getting food delivered? Is not up to date with that. I'm sorry. And there's a massive void here in what needs to be done. I agree with you so much, Sophia. And it's not just with voting. You know, like we're still doing the nasal swab where they're shoving something into our brain to test if we have COVID-19. I'm in Vancouver right now. I'm working and I've had to quarantine for the last 2 weeks. And I just got a different test where they just, it's non-invasive. It's such a simple test that they rub around both nostrils and then you get tested and you have your results. And it's like, why in America, if America is supposed to be this incredible leader, are we not advanced even like, you know, when it comes to something like this pandemic? I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, is the way that this pandemic was handled.
That's a whole other thing. But I think it's important to ask these questions. I think it's important to demand progress. And I think to your point about you explaining kind of, you know, how you feel about the, you know, the landscape and the general election, it's really important to acknowledge what our actual options are and then work inside the systems to make it better. Because the last thing I want is to hear people complain about how they don't like the system, they don't like the two-party system, they don't like this, they don't like that, and so then they don't show up. And I'm like, no, if you don't participate, you literally lose the right.
You need to put it's like no. You don't like it, you have to do something about it. And right now, you're not going to change the system. Like, I'm not going to change the system by saying, oh, it's archaic and you should be able to do it on your phone. No. That's not going to change it. What's going to change it is me requesting an absentee ballot, is me going in and voting early because you can vote early. And then taking more chances and more charge and more opportunities in local government to change those things.
100%.
First, we got to mobilize. And, like, the only reason... by the way, say hi to Jordan for me. Hi, Jordan. I know Jordan's
here.
I saw him.
He's like, you guys need to remind people to sign up at radicalnationalchallenge.org. There's your reminder. Radicalnationalchallenge.org.
Do it.
You're
Go
in
right
my
now.
pod.
Yeah.
He's been in the pod for a long time. Yeah, I feel more special that you let me into your pod. You have kids. Like,
yo, if you guys don't want to type in a website, you can just go to my story. Any of the 4 pictures that have radical on them, whether it's Patrisse Cullors or Martin Luther King or whoever's up there, you can just swipe up and then go there. I'm donating $20 every single time Trump says the word radical tonight. You can too. You totally should.
Yes. So we should tell people, speaking of radicalnationalchallenge.org, us even having this conversation, I'm sure people on the internet are like, how do you guys know each other? They're like going on IMDb, like, are you doing a project together? Not yet, but who knows. But Noah and I got connected and became friends thanks to a really amazing organization called Defeat by Tweet. We all know, to Steve's point, to my point, to your point, to probably the point of everybody watching this, that Donald Trump is an incredibly hateful person. He is a fearmonger. He tweets very racist and misogynistic things all the time. He's just like not cool. And what we did, speaking of new ideas, innovation, Gen Z tech, was we thought we should do something with this. So Defeat by Tweet is an organization. You can sign up literally if you have 50 cents a month or $5 a month, whatever you want, you set your limit. And every single time Donald Trump tweets hate, you contribute. And guess where all the money goes? You want to tell him, Noah?
It goes to Black-led political organizers in swing states, where
Yes.
it really matters. Your money is going to help convert votes and get new voters in to vote him the fuck out of office. Excuse my French.
I call him the occupant. He must go.
The occupant. Yeah.
The occupant. Steve
Yeah.
Schmidt said something a while back. He said he is unfit to sit behind the resolute desk. And I went, whew. And so I think about that once a day. I'm like, the occupant just sitting behind the desk. He doesn't deserve to be there. I get really hot under the collar about it.
Hell yeah, man. You hit it on the collar, bro. This guy capitalizes on fear and hatred, and he's like incessantly encouraging extremist groups like white supremacy groups. And he's honestly trolling the rest of us who haven't decided to get involved yet. So that's what Defeat by Tweet is it's a troll back in his face. Like, all right, bro, you want to be racist, you want to be a bigot, you want to talk shit, you want to say all these horrible things, you want to incite a 17-year-old to go shoot people at a peaceful protest who was sitting in your front row at a rally. Every time you tweet, money goes to Black-led organizations that are literally going to be your demise in this office. It's important, and it is a radical idea, but it's still within the confines of peace and love and what is fair in this society, and it's noble and something that we should aspire to do. So I couldn't be more grateful to like have met you through Defeat by Tweet, you know, with Jordan and Xander and everyone else that's involved with Andrew. I hope did I miss Andrew? Did Andrew?
No, Andrew's coming on next.
Yeah, Andrew! I hope you're watching. What's up, dude? All right. Well, yeah, I'm just super grateful for this opportunity, and I love you, and I'm so grateful to be in the trenches with you and everyone else.
Yeah, bud. Big love to you. Thank you so much for your advocacy. Thank you also for, you know, reminding young people that they are powerful and that they have a responsibility to show up. I'm really looking forward to 68 days from now. At least I hope to a return to decency for America. And we will continue pushing and demanding more and more radical, innovative change from our elected leadership from here on out.
Absolutely. Steps, baby steps.
Steps. All right, bud.
All right.
See you
Thanks,
later.
Sophia. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, everybody. Now, I keep pushing that stupid button that is not the button that I'm supposed to push. Y'all, I know the best, right? How in the world? No, I think I got it. I just have to find Andrew.
I'm trying to figure out how to get this.
Oh, I don't think he's here yet.
Let's see. Andrew?
I don't think he's here yet. Mr. Andrew Yang, are you here yet? Y'all, Noah mentioned something. We're so lucky, all of us, to work alongside some of the most powerful, prolific, incredible Black organizers around, including Patrisse Cullors and Alicia Garza, the incredible women who have made Black Lives Matter a rallying cry. And unfortunately, neither one of them could be here this evening. They have a lot going on, both in life and in the wake of Jacob Blake. But I would just like to hold a moment of space for them and thank them for their activism and remind us that we should all be following Black women. And yeah, I am sad that our friends can't participate in this conversation because another person was senselessly gunned down in our country. And I hope that we can make that stop sooner than later. So that's my piece on that. Let's see if Mr. Yang is here. I don't think he's here yet.
Should I text him?
I'll text him. I turned the Wi-Fi back on my computer.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh, well, Xander, why don't you come in here and talk to the folks about DBT while we wait for Mr. Andrew. Guys, you're going to meet my friend Xander Schultz right now. Hello!
Hey, Sophia.
How are the woods?
The woods aren't bad. It definitely is a stark difference from New York. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, never mind. I was going to say, where are you? But that's always a weird question to ask people. I'm glad that you're somewhere that looks beautiful with clean air and probably having a nice a nice moment.
Defeat by tweet hasn't blown up enough yet for my life to be in danger.
Well,
we're not poking the bear quite hard enough yet, but we're getting
yeah.
there. It's great.
Does Andrew? Yes. Yeah. Andrew just said, "Do you follow me?" I'm like, "Yeah, bro." Not giving me
Come
the
on, Andrew.
option. Weird.
He's the tech candidate. He should be on this. This shouldn't be a problem.
I mean, he is, and theoretically so am I, and it took me 3 tries to get this stupid live to work today. So
Yeah.
Who knows what's going on here. Okay, comments are off. Requests are on, though. Let's see what's happening here. Oh, I wonder if I go from yes. No. Oh, why did it do that? Sorry.
No worries.
Something is actually like very weird with my.
Yeah. I don't know if the internet was ready for this much video conferencing in general.
I don't think so. I definitely
None of them had the
don't.
expectation we'd only be doing this.
Honestly, who knows? And I will say, because I got to shoot this really cool content thing with my friends Mina from Phenomenal and Brittany Packnett Cunningham, who's an incredible activist who I know from the Obama years. We got to do this whole content thing yesterday for Equality Day, which was so great. And literally, I finally got a light for shooting in my own home.
Right.
And people were like, "I'm sorry, it's the end of August. Also, you probably have to make audition tapes. How do you not have a light for camera setups? Like, we've been on Zoom since March, Sophia."
Right.
I was like, "I don't know, you guys."
Right. I think we've all been in denial that it's going to end in 2 weeks and haven't invested in like actually this being a real thing that we're dealing with. We're just starting to, I feel like. But yeah, I appreciate you hosting this. This has been awesome. Noah's a gift to the world. That kid's got so much amazing energy, and
such a good egg.
And it's just been such an honor to partner with folks like you, like Andrew. It's great seeing Steve come on for, as you were mentioning, supporting the civil rights heroes of our time, right? These Black organizers like Patrisse Cullors, like Alicia Garza, like Phil Agnew, like Daryl Atkinson. These are the heroes of our time. Like, we just were in such reverence of John Lewis and C.T. Vivian and these folks. And so it's important to recognize that the heroes of their time have always been called radicals, and always been tried to be dismissed as they push for more progress. And so it would be great if we could, revere them while they're here and while they're doing this great work and support them. So I appreciate you supporting Defeat by Tweet and also this Radical National Challenge. So is Andrew ready? I don't want to take all this.
We got it. And he's been in our conversation because he's a good friend. And I was like, "Oh no, you have to exit and come back, otherwise you won't get the request."
Oh, he was just being a supportive.
He's just been here with us because he's a
Andrew.
good egg.
All right.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to be telling people about Defeat by Tweet. I'm so excited, for us to love our leaders while we have them and really get some skin in the game. So
last point on that is like loving our leaders. You don't have to love Biden and Kamala. You can love Patrisse and Alicia and Rashad Robinson. There's lots of people that you can support and still get the outcome you want.
Well, I think it's also really important to remember that very few people in the world are like your perfect match, right?
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you meet one person who you're going to spend your life with. It's like, not everybody has to be your perfect match, but they have to be good collaborators. They have to be good coworkers. They have to be good teammates. And we have the option to be on a team or to be treated by the supposed leader of the free world like we're his enemies. And I want to be on a team.
Yep.
Period, end of story. So there's that. I think Andrew's back. I'm going to go try and bring him on here. Wish me luck. We'll see how it goes.
See ya.
Thanks, bud.
Bye.
Okay. Guys, I think we're gonna do this. Why won't it let me have it? Okay. How does everybody feel? Wait, let me turn my comments back on really quick. How does everyone feel if I turn this off and we turn it on one more time? Because I'm really wondering if maybe there's just like some, wait, why does it say unable to join? Yeah, I gotta turn this off, y'all. I gotta turn it off and I gotta come back Thank you for bearing with me. Andrew Yang is coming up next. Actually, this is a good thing because Instagram would have kicked us off in 9 minutes, and now we can talk for longer than that. I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Andrew Yang and I are going to talk activism and things. See you in a few.